I started in defense when I was 14. I went to a military high school, I went to a military college, I went to a military graduate school. I was in the Army for 13 years as an officer.
My dad spent 30 years in the military as an Air Force intel officer. We moved from Mississippi to Texas to Louisiana.
I was probably in the 3rd grade, sitting on the living room floor with my dad, watching President Reagan announce the bombing of Libya.
My father was in the Army. My grandfathers were in the Air Force, had an uncle who was a Marine, another uncle in the Air Force. Grew up in places like Germany, Egypt, different places here in the States.
I was a journalist for 20 years. I covered the Pentagon largely for most of that. I absolutely fell in love with writing about the military.
I spent 21 years in the United States Air Force.
I did bomb disposal in the Army. It was the greatest job I ever had.
I was the legislative advisor to Heather Wilson when she was the Secretary of the Air Force.
I was vice president of the Pentagon Press Association.
When I had the opportunity to go work in the Pentagon in the Office of the Secretary of Defense, it was a really pivotal time. It was early in the days of the Iraq and Afghanistan war.
My first real job at the Pentagon started in October 2001, right after the 9/11 attacks, to be the communications director for the House Armed Services Committee, which I did for 10 years.
I ended up on the House Armed Services Committee staff doing national security policy and defense policy.
Washington, D.C. is a small town, and the world of defense in Washington, D.C. is actually even smaller.
People who are in the defense community come and stay. I've been doing this for 20 years in D.C. and I know a lot of people on both sides, and all of us work together for defense.
National security is a bipartisan issue, and it's all about how do we help the military warfighter, their families, and the service members.
One of the things I think sets Invariant apart is that we actually have folks who not just have Hill experience or government experience, but have been out in industry having to make P&L decisions.
You don't have to talk to 535 members of Congress. You need to talk to the 7 who care about you and care about what you do.
We can use communications and media to help elevate and achieve your legislative objectives.
What are the messages that will resonate on a bipartisan basis with lawmakers and third-party stakeholders?
I'm always listening, as a reporter would listen. The story the client wants to tell and how they'd be best able to tell it.
When a congressional staffer, when a member reads about your technology in a defense trade or a Wall Street Journal article or sees it on Fox News, that has a validation that you can't get any other way.
Having the right people on your team as a force multiplier to not just get in the door at the Pentagon, but help you cross the bridge is super important.
Navigating government is not easy, and so you need a Sherpa. You need somebody who can carry your load for you and take you where you need to go in the government and interact with the right people to get the right outcome.
And that's what Invariant can bring to the table.